This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Welcome, everybody, to Conscious Radio Network's True Ghost Stories, a special presentation for this month of October until we get to Halloween. Joining us tonight, a special guest. You may all know him, them, we don't know. But I would like to introduce Mardigan and I forgot the name.
Taylor.
Is that tip of my tongue. From House of Dolls, Midnight Horror Show. You've probably seen a lot of these videos in our broadcasts last year. But we decided to bring them on this year to share a little backstory and a little bit of interesting caveats and stuff about the House of Dolls. What is it? What's it all about? And yeah, let's dive right into it.
Sounds good.
So,
Who knows where this is going to go?
Yeah. So, give us a little backstory on the creation of the House of Dolls.
All right. Well, so I'm a big fan of Svengoolie. Some people might be familiar with Svengoolie. He's a horror show host that's on MeTV every Saturday night. And there was one night that he was playing the Vincent Price House of Wax.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm watching the show, and it's one of my favorite movies, of course. I love all Vincent Price movies. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, he's got all these wax figures. I have a bunch of dolls. I might be able to, mix these two. I'm like, what would a horror show host be like that had a bunch of statues that came to life? And then House of Dolls Midnight Horror Show was born. That's all it is right there,
Yeah.
And then it just, one idea after another just came snowballing. So
Yeah. And that's an awesome background, by the way.
Well, thanks. We are in Queen Hathor's tomb, actually. So Master Dali has created various rooms for each one of his creations, right? And make them feel at home as much as possible. So this is Queen Hathor behind us here. We also have behind me, this is Princess Otoyo, and she's got her own little area. And then we have Lydia, the werewolf doll, who was introduced a couple months ago in one of the episodes. So, So
Nice.
just a few of the dolls from the show.
Yeah. Now each of these dolls has their own story, has their own backstory to it, how they came into existence, and their own special, I would say, not a lack of a better word, powers. Can you explain a little bit of those powers or those gifts, so to speak?
Yeah. So with Master Dali, he always looks at what he can bring to make his work and things better at the manor. So what he's done is he's created these dolls. He brings them to life with certain attributes that he can call on for them to help. So for example, Celine, who is the witch, right? She's really good at summoning up spells and doing things like that. Charlotte is his main assistant. It's his secretary, so to say, sidekick, co-host throughout the show. And then, some of them are just kind of there just to be there, Queen Hathor. Hathor is actually an Egyptian goddess, and she was the goddess of love and beauty. So she brings that sensuality to the show.
Yeah.
Princess Otoyo, here. So Princess Otoyo is actually based upon a Japanese myth of the vampire cat story, where the princess was attacked by this vampire cat, and now it took her soul, the vampire cat's soul. Now Princess Otoyo is, a vampire, and she, finds victims and drains their blood. So everybody's got some sort of little story that goes along with them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Now, Master Dolly, give a little bit of before. Actually, we're gonna play the trailer in a little bit.
Okay.
Introduce Master Dolly and what a quick introduction of Master Dolly for those who haven't seen him before. They're about to, but
Right. Yeah. So Master Dali is a mad scientist, and he was looking for ways, basically the Pygmalion story, right? Looking for ways to bring a statue to life and a doll to life. And he had made all these creations, and came across a method that he found that works to bring these dolls to life. If I understand correctly, you're playing the introduction to the show.
Yeah, the trailer that I had used last year.
Okay, yeah,
right,
right.
that one.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That way people can see I'm sure they see it, but this is the it's the first episode of the season, or for the Halloween season.
Right.
So
yeah.
They'll see him for the first time if they hadn't seen him last year.
Yeah. So Master Dolly is the host of the show. And so what he has done is he wants to share his love of horror with the world, as well as the doll's love of horror, and as well as his creations. He wants to share them with everybody. So he invites them to his home to watch these horror movies, and they all have a blast watching horror films and all the antics that happen in between each film. There's always some sort of silly skit, something happening between the dolls and things.
And then after when we come back from the trailer, we'll kind of touch in on the story of the trailer and kind of a little bit of a backstory of the trailer.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. All right, here we go. Boom, boom.
Greetings, doll lovers and horror fans. I am Master Dolly, the Doll Master, inviting you to my house of dolls, where the dolls come alive and the horror begins.
Whoa. That must have taken quite a bit of time to put that together.
I don't remember, but yes, it did. It did.
Yeah. I mean, the actors and then the special effects, and I know what it's like.
Yes, all those clips in that trailer are films that were shown in some of the episodes.
Yeah.
So you have to watch the episode to see what film those were from.
Now, also too, there's aside from House of Dolls too, there's some other work. You do other work. You do all the other production work in some indie films and stuff like that. Tell a little bit about some of that as well.
Yeah, so I produce, I write and direct and act as well. Taylor is an actress as well. She's been in a couple films of mine. Yeah, so it just kind of all goes together. And through that experience, it has allowed me to bring this show to life. If it wasn't for that, I really wouldn't be in this position. I was able
Yeah.
to take what I've learned through filmmaking and apply it to this show. So it's been great.
Who does your makeup?
Me. I do everything. I do everything in this show. I do all the camera work, writing, editing. I bring it all together. And Taylor is I brought on recently, and we call her the lady of the house. And so why don't you explain what your role is?
So, I'm kind of right now wanting to jumpstart like really heavy on the social media. So like before we even got started on this, like I was already, grabbing pictures, really trying to build up our social media aspect, really gain a really big TikTok following. So that's kind of my place right now. And then some appearances on House of Dolls as well. So just really increasing, followers and just really getting our name out there is my goal and job right now.
Yeah, social media is very important to any
very.
business nowadays. It's
I've heard people are not even getting signed as music artists unless they have like, a social media following. So it's everything right now. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and management of it, you definitely need a crew. I mean, it's yeah.
And where Taylor is most helpful is because I'm so busy doing everything else. The social media stuff is an afterthought for me, So it's like having somebody else that can come in and say, "Hey, I got this."
And also bouncing ideas off of each other as well. Like we will send voice notes to each other. Like the other day, I just woke up and I was like, "Wait a minute, Mardigan, I have this, idea for the next episode." So it's always just it allows him, not it all on his plate, but for me to step in as well and just, kind of be a partner in this for him as well, so we can really have a really good production.
Yeah. I would assume you guys have, because I saw during the last HorrorCon, you had a physical appearance there at the HorrorCon and stuff. What was the reaction to that? That must have been.
Yeah, so I'll wander in, just show up at like. Was it Spooky Empire?
Yes.
Right. I've done that a couple times. And then they had, I forget what it was called. It's something in Daytona. It was like the spooky vendors and things like that, So I'll just show up as Master Dolly, and people are always curious, who the heck are you, So I have my little flyers that I bring and pass out. They're invitations to the show. That last picture that was on the trailer there, that's that picture, and on the other side is your invitation. You scan the code and it takes you to the website and other information about it. So yeah, I always get a great reaction. People wanted to get pictures with me, even though they don't know who I am right now, But what's so much fun is I go and I look for, like, there's always somebody that's dressed up as Elvira. There's always somebody dressed up as Svengoolie. So I get pictures taken with them, and they're like, "Oh, who are you?" It's like it's
good advertising.
Yeah. And it's and introducing something new to these events or venues is that is what actually causes the viral or the soon-to-be viral things, because it's like people start talking about it. Yeah, there's this new character. There's this new person. There's this new thing. We got to go check it out.
It's my hope.
Yeah, it just takes that one video and then and that's where I've come in. I'm like, we got to keep on with the trends. We got it, and he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we just got to keep it up and see what's going on. And so it's just been fun, just bouncing off ideas and just really, we both have big dreams for what this can be, and just we're both passionate about it, and seeing where it can go is where we want, as big as we can, shooting for the stars.
Yeah, that's it. It's you gotta put the emotion, the passion, the blood, sweat, and tears into it, which I do for this show. This and a regular broadcasting. I've been doing it for years, and it's like people, like I said, you ain't making money. Why are you doing it? Because I love doing it. I like doing it. It's only a matter of time before people start catching on and go, people start talking, and then and the numbers only go up. They don't go down. So
and another thing, Paul, what's really important for me about doing this show is, as much as I'm looking forward to our success here, it's everybody else that's involved here. So meaning that all the short films that are in an episode, they're all friends of mine. They've all made, these independent films. They're gracious enough to let me use them, and it gets them out there, and it's my hope that somebody sees that and, oh man, this was a great film. Let me look up, this person, whoever directed or wrote it or whatever, So given the opportunity to be able to do that, it's a lot of fun. I just really like having that as part of the experience.
Yeah, and we got to work as a community. It's a team effort.
Absolutely.
And it gets stronger. It's stronger by the numbers, because as people start seeing it, people start volunteering their time. It's like, oh man, I really like this. What, can I help? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then, it's like, it's, and as far as the show in general, the House of Dolls Midnight Horror Show, have you ever did, aside from online, just the online presence, have you ever looked into the physical, doing like an actual haunted house type thing, physical walkthrough type thing, for people to physically see the Dolly's creations?
Well, I would not be opposed to having Universal approach me to have a haunted house, an IP haunted house at Horror Nights one year.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Hey, if you want to,
Right?
I as a former scare actor, I'm like, don't touch the dolls. Like, they're so like, people. It's just immediate. Yeah, people, guests don't know how to keep their hands to themselves sometimes. So
Yeah.
immediately, I just went into mom mode and just started looking around, like, don't touch the dolls.
Right?
But I just, you're right. Yeah, I do think about that. But, I'm also looking at opportunities, which actually have one coming up. It's in Sebring later on in the month of October here. And it's a horror film festival that a friend of mine and I are doing. And I will be hosting the event and bringing, I don't know if I'll necessarily be bringing the dolls with me, but we'll do some video interaction with me as, Master Dolly and some of the dolls on the screen. So I'm really excited about that, and having more opportunities to do that, go to other horror cons and hosting their, film festivals that they have. That those are the kind of things, those guest appearances,
Yeah. And being on like a board or something, like a voting board, or a panel. Yeah. And I tell you what, with the right makeup artists, you could have physical people play the dolls almost,
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, hey, and just be in the haunted house, and just, if you can stay still for long enough.
Yeah, that's what's so great about them. They don't argue, they don't fight.
It's great set.
Yeah, they just stay right where I put them,
Yeah. Now, you guys are both actors too, with the with Halloween Horror Nights, correct?
That's how we met.
Yeah.
We met in line at the audition for Halloween Horror Nights 2015, and we were clicked and been friends ever since. So and now it's led. We've done productions together, but just stayed true friends. Almost were paranormal investigators together for downtown Orlando.
Sweet. There you go.
Yeah, we
Cool.
we have a lot of stuff that's happened paranormal wise between us that we've also helped keep us in contact. But overall, it's just, I'm very lucky to have him as a friend. It's been a great Oh yeah, it's true. No, I am.
Same.
It's been a good relationship, working and personal.
Yeah, yeah. And since this broadcast and anything for Conscious Radio Network is international. I mean, everybody all over the world gets to see this, and some people may not know what Halloween Horror Nights is,
Mm-hmm.
but would like to travel and see it. Explain what Halloween Horror Nights is to those who don't know.
It starts late August. It's so Universal Studios Orlando, basically overnight, starting at, I would say, like 6 p.m. and goes till 2 a.m. and the entire park transfers over into a very immersive horror theme park. You have scare actors from the moment you walk in who are just around you. There's fog, you can't really see. It's eerie. It's perfect. It's just, there's nothing honestly like it. Like you feel like you are in this horror film set. It's all around you constantly. There's no breaks. Like to get to a haunted house, you have to go through a scare zone. So there's people constantly coming at you. It's so fun. And then for the haunted houses, some of them are based off of films you've seen, like ranging from anywhere from The Exorcist, Michael Myers, and then you have personal ones that Universal have come up with themselves that are just creative, and it's so fun. And I did it for 4 years. How many years did you?
I think I did it for 6.
Yeah, it's addicting too. As a scare actor, I won't lie. I always said it was very like therapeutic to just kind of jump out and get somebody and they scream, and I don't know, it just always felt really good.
Yeah. And I remember when Halloween Horror Nights first started. I think this is like the very first. I think I went to the very first one, and crap, that was like what, 1990?
I think it was in 92.
Yeah.
And I was actually in Halloween Horror Nights 5 and 6, one of the first years that they did it. So I was a stilt walker, and at that time they had a parade. So I was a stilt walker in the parade 2 years in a row. So
yeah. Well, maybe
a lot different now than it was then.
Yeah.
It has definitely evolved into this. Whoa, just a couple months of craziness, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And so, hey, the right people out there, and help push to maybe have a House of Dolls attraction during Halloween Horror Nights.
Well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We would be grateful.
We will put that out in the universe.
Yeah,
It's
put that in the universe.
House of Dolls Horror Show at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Contact Master Dali.
Yeah. So let's see, man. There's so much to talk about, but then it's like, what's the next topic? There's so, yeah. What are some of the things that some upcoming things for House of Dolls that you would like to share? Any upcoming projects, new characters, without giving too much detail away?
Yeah, it's just really pumping out episodes, being consistent, as much as possible, doing 1 or 2 a month, just keeping up the pace, really, and looking for opportunities to do, public appearances as well. So whatever, things to keep the show in the public eye is going to be really what's important. And then, through October, also looking for opportunities to just kind of like show up somewhere and as Master Dali. And I know that there's the Spooky Empire that'll be coming up here in like the middle of October, I believe. And so we'll be there passing out invitations and stuff like that. Yeah, and I'm always looking at, like, I've got several other characters in mind that I want to bring on board. So I got a mermaid character in the works. Have another kind of like a witchy sort of character. Got a little bit of a darker vibe, goth girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, yeah. Now, how many dolls are there? How many characters do you actually have? And
Let's
what
see,
are
I've got
Yeah.
7 altogether right now.
yeah? Oh, magic number 7. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, every number is magic at some point, but yeah.
Right.
Touch a little bit about on the specialty of each of the dolls, each of the characters.
Well, so if you watch the beginning opening sequence, this is where Master Dali brings Charlotte to life, right?
Hmm.
And towards the end of that, you see a doll that he's working on, and that's Jane. Jane is actually Master Dali's first creation, who he kind of like set aside because she wasn't really good enough. And then he came up with the idea of creating Charlotte, which is a lot more realistic.
Mm.
So Jane is in the show. She makes her appearances. Got a little bit of an attitude because she's not finished. Yeah, so she's a snarky one. And Charlotte, as I said, she's kind of the helper, very naive, and always wants to learn. She's fascinated by all sorts of different things. Celeste is the ghost girl doll in the house, so she'll appear in scenes every once in a while and make her comments. And we have Celine, who's the witch, who kind of brings things together. If there's a mess, she helps fix it by making it right, with some sort of spell or concoction or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we have Hathor, who's just kind of there, keeping things alive and sexy. Not that the others aren't, right? And then with Lydia here, the werewolf, she's just kind of on the prowl, always looking for something, a new victim of some sort. And of course, she sometimes accomplices with Princess Otoyo here.
Yeah.
So.
So there's with Halloween and stuff, and being getting into the paranormal investigation aspect. Have you what are your experiences with the paranormal? Would you like to share a story?
Oh boy,
I know that.
Experiences?
Boy, do we have
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, also, you want to go first? Because
Oh gosh, sure. Yeah, I'll go. This is a big thing of our friendship is paranormal. So my big first experience, like I saw a ghost. I was 17, and I'm originally from Charleston, West Virginia. I currently still live here in Orlando, Florida. And I had just got my first lead role. I was 17 in Measure for Measure by William Shakespeare. I'm so excited. And it's Tech Week, and we're about to move into the theater. And the cast who's performed at this theater before was warning me. They're like, "Hey, this theater's really haunted, like really, really haunted." And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I believe you. I didn't realize to the level of haunted it was. So we were going about the show, and there were 2 ghosts that they warned me about prior, John Welch and his daughter. So before the theater, everything was built back in the day. It was his house. It burned down, and him and his daughter did not survive. And they have just been around ever since, and especially in the theater. So when I first met John Welch, everyone was on stage during the performance, and I was downstairs in the basement. And I was just fixing my lipstick, getting ready to go back and do my scene, and I just watched the door slowly close. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I just immediately just booked it back upstairs. I was like, well, enough down here. I always heard he was very mean. Always, so it was like, don't bring any Bibles or crosses or anything. Like, just don't piss off John Welch. Like this, you don't want to do that. And his daughter would live in the balcony. So I never saw her. But my that was like my only thing with them. But my real big issue, our big story was, we're still in tech week and we took a break to have lunch, and I go up to the balcony by myself, and I wanted to grab my friend who was working the spotlight, and I get up there and I look down to where the spotlight was. I didn't see my friend. And then I look in front of me and I see this long cloaked figure just standing there looking out. And the best way I can describe, looked like a nun, like an old school nun, just dark cloaked figure.
Huh.
And they're standing out. Now, mind you, this show, Measure for Measure, had like an Arabian kind of Middle Eastern theme. So I thought they were one of my cast members.
Yeah.
And so I take one simple step forward, just one. And this cloaked figure just immediately turns to me like that and has glowing white eyes.
Whoa.
And when I tell you, I booked it down 3 flights of stairs, like faster than you. Like, I mean, I was just like, nope. And I was like, one of my cast members just happened to like catch me because I was just freaking out, crying. And she's like, caressing me because I'm just like sobbing. And she's just like so calm about it. She's like, "It's okay, everyone. It's the ghost. It's the ghost." Like just so casual. Like this is just normal.
Wow.
And then later that day, after we had finished our show, one of the tech people confirmed that they saw the cloaked figure as well. And then a couple years later, the cast member who caught me sent me an article saying, and the article read that a actress had died in the theater and she passed away in her nun costume.
Whoa.
Yes.
So yeah, like chills.
Yes.
Chills on.
Yeah.
So
bat bumps.
yeah,
Bat
like
bumps.
this. It's that was my big. That one still gets me to this day. Like I'm just like, yeah, it's the eyes. It was the white glowing eyes. I can never forget it.
But
Yeah.
there is a moral to this story that you have to keep in mind. Never go in an empty theater by yourself.
Or
You never know. Or in a theater anywhere by yourself.
Yeah,
like
never.
that.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. But come to find out, my mom and my brother, who were very big skeptics, my mom happened to be the stage manager, and she was seeing stuff. She'd be like, "I just saw like this flash go across the light, like that was different." And then after one of my performances, my brother asked me. He was like, "Hey, sis, like, who was that little girl sitting up in the balcony?" And I was like, and just so like out of like just casually, I was just like, "That was John Welch's daughter, John. You just saw a ghost. Like that was you're not supposed to see her."
That's funny.
So that's been some of my experiences, along with what's really intensified our friendship is on a scarier note. I have, during when I played Reagan in The Exorcist, that was my first experience with a haunting.
Yeah.
And this was at HHN. That was, everyone, I always say, like, wants a paranormal experience. They want it. Like, that's kind of, and I'm like, it's all fun and games until you either A, actually get one, or B, worse, get a haunting. And that one really, things were happening that I, to this day, cannot explain, even in daytime. That was, I think, the worst part of it, is when it was happening in daytime. Pictures falling off, books falling. It was to a point where, the guy I was dating at the time, I would make him walk me to the bathroom because that's how scared I was.
Wow.
So, it's I've had so many. Even seeing stuff at the foot of my bed at night, waking up and seeing stuff. And that's after about like the 5th time of just waking up and just seeing entities around my bed. That's when I reached out to Mart again, and I was like, something's not right. Something feel like I keep waking up and seeing a person, an entity. It's creeping me out. Mart again, please explain, help.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing about That's what's the cool thing about theaters. It doesn't matter how old or new a theater is. There's always, especially if you're in a theater alone,
Mm-hmm.
always some sort of, and not a movie theater, but an actual,
Yeah, theater.
Broadway type theater. There's an energy in there that is, it does different things to different people,
Mhm.
but there's something really cool about it. It it's
They say
great.
it's because like of all the energy, like the emotion that you're putting out onto this stage, like entities are just attracted to it and they come
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it's
yeah.
yeah. I've had a whole variety of paranormal, so I'm usually the one like at the campfire, like with everyone. They're like, oh, let's share ghost stories, and all my friends just heads turn at me, and I'm like, oh, which one do you want to hear today?
Yeah. Um, before you tell your story, Mardigan, I have a question for both of you. Is it's c- I asked the same question to actor Eric Roberts when he was on the show last year,
Mm.
and I asked him, I was like, have you ever played a role of somebody in history, or portraying somebody in history, or anybody really? Um, if they felt that they were channeling the energy or the spirit of that person while they're acting. Have either ever of you felt any of that when you're playing a role of somebody in history?
Well, I've personally never played a role of an actual person in history, so I really can't speak on that.
Mm.
So, but I've had a lot of theater spooky stuff happening.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah.
played a role or anything like that?
I've had challenging ones. Like there's a play called The Blood Wedding, and I played the devil. And that was one thing I was like stumped on. I was like, how do I get in character for this? Like,
Yeah, right.
like it was, it's a very abstract play. Like my partner was the moon, and that's the only thing that immediately came to mind. But no, I've played people, but they're still alive. Like I've never had to
Yeah.
experience that, and I will be honest, I don't think I really want to.
Yeah,
Like that.
Or even when, and two, it doesn't. I don't think it necessarily has to be somebody in history, because I've heard some stories of people just playing a role of anything, and you
Mm.
get this like burst of energy, this burst of a spiritual muse of some sort, like
Mm.
your body's being overtaken by something, and
Hmm.
it's happened to me once, and I
Oh.
actually maybe a couple times. Like I'm about ready to do something, but you're like, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? And it's like you're about ready to quit, and then suddenly, like you have a spiritual walk-in, and suddenly you're on autopilot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of when you're explaining it that way, a lot of musicians, especially guitar players, they'll say that they're in the zone. It's where especially like blues players, where they're just playing, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was noted for
Yeah.
his improv, and so he was all that was just inspired. Whatever he played, it just really came out. You can't explain where it comes from. It just comes.
Yeah.
And it's any role that you play is really like that. Once you are comfortable with the lines and the character, you really embody
gonna
that.
have-
Those characters and personality, where you're no longer yourself anymore.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what that is. And you're right. It doesn't have to be somebody that was living before. It
Yeah.
just could be, you're in that mindset of the character, and now you're just letting that flow through you.
Yeah.
I actually just remembered I did play a historical person. I played Betty Paris in The Crucible.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So, are we frozen?
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Every now and
Yeah.
then it does weird stuff.
I was like,
Paranormal
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. I know. See, as soon as we talk about it.
Yeah.
That's why I keep malachite next to the keyboard or the computer. That way it keeps all the negative energy away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was a playing the Crucible and the Salem witch trials, and especially playing the Betty, who's the first that starts it off, and just having to is she lying, is she not, what's wrong with her, is it that was interesting. That was probably one of my most favorite parts, but also kind of creepy parts as well.
Yeah. Mardigan, what's your paranormal experience?
Well, there's so many. I'll say my stuff started when I was a kid. I was real little, and lots of things I don't remember from my childhood, but there's several things that I do. And I remember when I was like 3 years old, I'd see dead people, and whenever the family would sit in front of the TV at night, we'd be watching TV, whatever, I would see this procession of people passing through the living room, and I'm 3 years old. I'm thinking everybody else is seeing this kind of stuff, they were all looking at me, and then they would just disappear. I didn't think anything of it, It wasn't until I got a little bit older and things started to really get intense, and I'd hear at night footsteps pacing around my bed. My bed would jump. My bed jumped for many, many years.
Wow.
Well into my 20s, I'd have that sort of experience. So and a lot of the stuff that I went through right around the age of 14 or so, it just got to be too intense for me. I just did whatever I could to block it out. And then after several years, I just couldn't block it out anymore, and it came back and started really having more experiences. But I want to piggyback on something that Taylor had mentioned earlier, because I think that was Exorcist.
Yes,
24?
Yeah, that was
23 or 24.
I did that in 2016, so I'm not sure.
The studio that it was in.
Oh yeah, 20. Yep.
I think it's 24.
I think you're right, 24.
Yeah. So, because she was telling me about what was going on in the house. So there was 2 haunted houses at that time in there. Yeah. And so I had the opportunity to be a scare actor in that same studio. And gosh, I don't remember which. I was in the icons. So Universal Studios has all these icons, and they're like the main person for each season. So we had the icon house, and then next to us was the fairy house. So it was like I started having some experiences there, and I'm just like, all right, so I'm just gonna kind of keep this kind of stuff to myself. And then as the season went on, more people started having stuff happening to them. And I was listening to what people were saying. They were getting tapped. And then they'd see little kids running through, or they'd hear somebody running behind them, and there would be nobody there. A lot of it was more tapping or hearing their name being called. And a lot of it was, that I was experiencing very similar. I was picking up, who it was, names and things like that. But yeah, so what's crazy is that, that is something that happens in that house on a regular basis. And so when I was first starting in that house, I didn't even think about it. The Exorcist being in that same house after Taylor's experiences there. Now everybody else is having similar experiences. Yeah. So this is Universal Studios, and that building itself is not that old. So it's probably built in the 90s. So to have that sort of activity in that little space, it was pretty wild. People were a little on edge about that. They didn't know how to take it. Even though it wasn't really that extreme,
Well, for me, like all the Reagans, like it started when you get cast in a Halloween Horror Nights, whether you're in the streets or a house, you get part of like a Facebook group. And for ours, it's like it just started. Like one girl was just like, "Hey, I I had bleach spilled on my washer. I don't use bleach. Is anybody else having weird things?" And then it just spiraled. Like every girl that was playing a Reagan was like, I had this. And then we would go to work the next day and we would sit in like a circle and be like, is this weird thing happening? And then it just starts spreading over. And I was like, right again, like things are happening. We're hearing stuff, we're seeing stuff. And he's apparently, his house is too. It's just, it just was a wave. And it kind of almost, I feel like, circles back to just theater in general. And just, when you're pouring that emotion, I feel like, energy is attracted to that for sure.
Yeah. Has there been any unusual paranormal encounters during any productions of House of Dolls?
Probably.
Oh, you're too
focused. Well, I tell you, before we started, Taylor was asking me, "What's your favorite doll?" And I said, I really think it's Princess Otoyo here.
Yeah.
Now the thing with her is that there's just something about her.
Now, you got to be careful because you're gonna make them jealous.
Yeah.
You can't have a favorite. They might come alive.
Well, I've certainly had dreams where they've come alive, and that's kind of unsettling. But I don't know. There's just something about her personality, and I put, when I thought about her character, I really considered, what I wanted. I wanted that to bring in that Japanese mythology and lore, and there really isn't any vampires in Japanese mythology or lore. So this is as close as I got. Is this the story of Princess Otoyo, and this is an actual legend. So and then when you see like any Japanese vampires that are like an anime series and things like that, those are all based upon obviously more traditional vampires, but that's brought into the Japanese culture. But yeah, it's really about. I'm just waiting. I'm sure there's going to be something that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, with because lack of a better word, it's they call it in some cultures a tulpa, kind of like voodoo dolls, by adding energy and adding character, adding emotion, adding the energy into inanimate objects or anything really. It's sort of like my mom did this after my father passed away. She had a doll. She had this doll made, and it had all of like these pendants and things that were attached to it, almost like a voodoo doll. And she had expressed one day that it used to always sit in the back seat of the car, and one day it like moved, like it like changed seats. And like doing all kinds of crazy things. And it's like, because of the energy that she put into it, her the emotion, the memories, and tokens, these objects of energy that were attached to it. I feel that we're building on these objects to where they actually build and have an energy of their own. So maybe eventually, if they haven't yet, like you said.
Yeah, what's unique about these dolls is that they are so lifelike. And when I'm filming, it's one thing to see it on the video, right? But when I'm shooting that, I want to make sure that they look as realistic as possible. And there's times where I'm just like shooting. I'm like, holy shit, man, this is creepy. They look
Yeah,
so
they-
good,
Yeah.
and just because their eyes can move, and they're very expressive in their movement and things.
Mhm.
So, and then I add the stop animation along with it. It's just really that it brings them to life, and it's funny because I personify them. Like
Yeah.
if I bump one of them, oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to, Charlotte. Whatever. And just because of what they are, it's just very easy to do that.
Yeah.
And you have that I have that connection with each one of them. It's just that, that because each one of them has personality, even though I created that, I
Mhm.
still, I know what they're going to do, and I know how they're going to act in certain situations, and who's going to do what and stuff. So
Yeah. Wow.
and I want to bring that to life for everybody. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. So before we wrap up the show, I'd like to give both of you an opportunity as a takeaway, something that you would like to share as a takeaway for our listeners and viewers.
Oh yeah, so I just please watch the show. Go, anything that you can do just to take a look at it. Stop by the YouTube channel, watch an episode, see what you think. Give us a like, subscribe, tell your friends, right? Because this is about growing this community, this horror community. We have,
Mhm.
even though we're in Central Florida, we have a lot of great filmmakers in this area, and I'm looking to expand and bring in other horror short films, from all around the world. Whoever wants to, have their show on my show.
Yeah.
So it's all
Yeah.
about networking and connections.
And we'll have the all the links to the YouTube channel and stuff in the show notes too. So that way they
Awesome.
can be like, where is that? It's in the show
And you
notes,
can also
everybody.
buy these cool shirts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great way to get the
There you
word
go.
out.
Gotta have merchandise. Yes, gotta have merchandise. Hey,
Yeah, the store's
yeah.
got posters and mugs and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe some bobbleheads of each.
I'm working on it. I'm working
Yeah.
on it. I was telling her that. Yeah. Funko Pops.
There you go. Yeah. Taylor, what would you have as a takeaway?
Oh, just piggybacking, just likes, follow us on social media, please. That all. And as Mardigan said, tell your friends. This is, it's a passion project, but it's also we really want to build the horror community. It's just such a fun community. It's a spooky community, and we just really want to get our names out there and really grow this platform. So every like and view is very appreciated, and yeah, we're very thankful.
Yeah. And if anybody out there wants to take on some paranormal investigation or go on a tour of like the Orlando area and stuff like that, they can contact you, correct?
Oh, absolutely. We definitely know the spots, or we would be happy to show you some of the spots ourselves.
Yeah. Cool. Wow. I'm impressed with everything that your creation, Mardigan. This is awesome.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you so much.
and yeah, it I can see the amount of work it's taken, and helping you, partnering up, not only this year, but starting last year and stuff, and especially this year, helping partner up, promoting you, promoting myself, True Ghost Stories, and yeah, it's creating that community and building that community.
Mhm.
So
I'm glad we have this opportunity to do that, and I thank you for
Yes.
helping promote our show.
You're
It's
welcome.
been great.
You're welcome.
Means a lot.
Mhm.
Thank you, brother, and thank you, Taylor, for the work that you do in helping Mardigan with the social media. It's very important work.
Absolutely. No, thank you as well for having us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, I guess I guess this is the end. But
All right. Thanks a
anyway,
lot.
pleasure as always. And yeah, keep me posted on I definitely got to check out some of the we were talking about it earlier about some of the public events and stuff, the Ocala show, I think was it Oddities? It was like the Oddities
Right.
thing
Mhm.
that's something. I remember there's one out in the Tampa area. There's even a gift shop. I think it's not a gift shop, but there's a store called something Oddities that's got
Mm.
really, really crazy stuff in it. Did I buy something from them? I think I did. I don't remember.
Well,
But
there's
they were,
Prometheus Esoterica that's here in Orlando.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And it's like an antique store, but it's like
Mhm.
really creepy at first when like the one out in Tampa actually had a human skull in it. It's like,
Wow.
what? And just like yeah, like a shrunken head, from some tribe in like somewhere weird. It just like yeah, weird, cool, weird and cool.
Yeah.
So, but anywho, well, guys, thank you very much for your time and for being on True Ghost Stories. And you have a wonderful rest of the night, and keep me posted on some upcoming projects, and help get them out there.
Will do. And happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, happy Halloween. Thank you everybody for watching True Ghost Stories, and until next time, keep it spooky.